Hey guys, been wondering how we converted our Ford Escape for life on the road? Wait no longer. Today I will be showing you exactly how we did it. So you may remember from our first setup, it was pretty simple. We just have a raised bed with totes underneath it. Pretty easy. This time, since we were in it for the long haul, we made a few changes, which ended up getting us a bigger bed and more storage space, which were both great improvements. So let's get started. This is what your Escape should be looking like. All we've done so far is taking the back mat out of the car. The first thing that we did was take the jack compartment and storage unit out of the back. There should only be about 4 or 6 bolts in there, so that should come out pretty easy. Then you'll be left with something looking like this. The next step is we remove the back seats. There's a few bolts holding them in, so if you have the right tools, it makes it easy. We improvised with the tools that we had and made it work. After the seats are completely removed, the top and the bottoms, then we got to work on the seat belts and the hardware along with those. Those should just use an Allen wrench and it should come out alright. We actually used a pipe with the Allen wrench to get some better leverage because they were in pretty tight. Then we're going to be starting on the side of the seat belts. Our dogs already chewed through most of them, so it wasn't too big of a deal, so we just cut them off completely. Also, remove your side seat brackets. It'll gain you some extra space and save you from bumping your elbows on it when you're sleeping. Now you guessed it, do the same on the other side. After completing both sides, we'll now be removing any nuts and bolts left over from the seats, the jack compartment, or the seat belts. There will be 2 bolts that you will not be able to remove unless you cut them off. We left them on and I'll show you in a second what we did with it. Any other bolts that you remove, make sure you put heavy-duty tape over top of them because they do have holes that go to the outside and we don't need anything crawling in on us. So now we're going to start working on the frame. All of our frame boards will be 8.5 inches in height and 1.5 inches in width. You're going to need 2 boards cut at 31 inches in length, 2 at 17.5 inches in length, and 1 at 46 inches in length. I made 1 extra cut on our 46-inch piece. I cut an arch out of the bottom of the piece of wood to save a little extra space, since the board is going to be floating anyways because the frame dips down. Now, before we start screwing anything together, let's lay it out to make sure it all fits right. Your 2 31-inch long boards will be going on your sides. They will be going over these 2 holes that you should have already pre-taped. One on the left and one on the right. They should just about hit that bolt that we couldn't remove from earlier. Your 46-inch piece will be right in the middle. It will be floating for the most part over the sunken frame. Your 2 17.5-inch pieces will be going on the inside of your side pieces. They will connect to the side and to the middle 46-inch piece. They should be sitting on the flat part of the frame to give it a solid foundation. And if all of that looks correct, you'll just need 2 more boards at 17.5 inches wide to go at your end of your frame to hold it square. So now back at the front of the frame, you will need another 52-inch long board by 8.5 inches tall. It will connect directly to your 61-inch board that came up the center. On the ends, you will have to cut out a notch. This notch just makes it a little easier to get into the storage compartment. It will also be about 1.5 inches shorter than your frame board. So, you will have to make 1.5 inches shim that is 52 inches long to go on top of it to make it level with the rest of the frame. So now on to the last part of our frame. We made 3 legs that were 5.5 inches wide and 17 inches tall. They can be any width you want, but the height needs to be consistent with the rest of the frame so it comes out level. Then, you have to make the connector pieces. we figured out our length for our connector pieces by putting our seats as far back as they could go, and that was the distance that we needed it to be. Ours came out to about 13 1/4 inches long. On the middle leg, we also cut a notch out so you could still get to your cigarette lighter if needed. After all those are connected, we made a 52-inch long piece that would just support the legs so they would stay more stable. So now that we're done building the frame, we can start building our drawers. Ours came out to be 29 1/2 inches long by 16 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches tall. On the bottom, we used a 1/4 inch thick piece of plywood. On one of the drawers, we actually taped a thin sheet of metal to the bottom of the drawer. You can see what this is for in our cooking setup video. Now we're going to begin working on our drawer railings. This is what the drawer will be sitting on and will glide on when you pull it in and out. We used a piece of scrap wood that was roughly the length of the drawer, that was about 1 inch wide and about 3/4 inches thick. The main thing you need to know is that when you put the boards on, that it will still fit in the drawer slot, with a space on each side. Now that we have the railings on the drawers, we need the railings that they will slide into. For this, I put the drawers in their spots and put a piece of wood on top of the frame to simulate the bed, just to make sure that the drawer had enough space when the bed would be in place. I measured where the bottom of the drawer railings would be and put a mark. This is where the top of our bottom railing would go. Also, on each side, I put a small block on top of the railing that was on the drawer, just so it gave it a nice snug railing to slide into. All you need to do now is finish it up with some handles. Now that the frame is done and the drawers are built, all it's left to do is to cover it. You can use particle board or plywood. We kind of trace the outline of the car so we can maximize our bed space, as you can see in our pictures. The one thing to make sure of is if you're cutting it, make sure that you keep the cuts on the studs. The only thing extra that we did is we cut about 1 foot off the end of the plywood by the drawer ends. We put hinges on them, so then we'd be able to get to the drawers a little more easily. And there you have it, your frame is all done. The only thing left that we did was we put a coat of primer on all of the wood, just to give it a nice coating to save it from water damage. And for your bed, you can use whatever you'd like. We already had a memory foam mattress, so we just cut it to make it fit our frame perfectly. And now you're ready for life on the road in your dog-tested, wife-approved car camper. Now, as always with us, we did this on a budget. The only wood that we actually paid for was for the frame, and that came out to be around $20-25. All the rest of the wood we actually got for free off Craigslist. Then, our door handles and our hinges we also found for free. As you can see, they don't match, but they do the trick. For the paint, you can use whatever you have lying around. It doesn't matter what color, as long as it seals the wood. We had some extra primer lying around, so we used that. But if you're doing this on a budget like we did, you can also go to the hardware store or Lowe's or Home Depot, and they also have discounted paint. It just goes to show you, if you look around, there's a lot of cheap or free things that you can use for this project. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that video, make sure to hit the like button. If you want to see everywhere our great escape has taken us, make sure to subscribe.